learning about 2-point perspective. We're going to be drawing a box form, so we need a horizon line, and at either end of the horizon line we want to draw a vanishing point. I'm going to put in the corner of where I want my box to be by drawing a straight line that sits at a right angle to my horizon line. And I'm going to join that to my vanishing points. So I just sketched them in. I didn't use a ruler, but you could use a ruler if you wanted. I can decide how tall I want my box to be, and I can connect that to my vanishing points as well. So the next thing is to decide the proportion of your box. So you can draw in the sides, connect the corners to the vanishing point, or draw in the top first and then draw in the sides after. It's up to you. Okay, so I've got a nice square box, and although it's got curves in it, I'm not putting them in at the moment. I'm just drawing in details like where the lid is going to sit, and everything has to be connected to that vanishing point. Okay. It creates the illusion that things get smaller as they go into the distance, and it creates the illusion of something actually being believable. So make sure that you don't forget to connect all your corners to your vanishing points. Okay. Now, because I'm sketching it, I'm keeping my lines nice and light, because I know I'm going to have to make some changes. And this box that I'm drawing is actually a lunch box, so it's got a split in the middle. So I'm going to draw that in, and I'm going to connect that to my vanishing point. And then this section here is split into two, so I'm going to draw that as well. And that's going to connect to my vanishing point on the other side. Now on this side there's a wee catch, so what I want to do is I want to just mark where it's going to go. I'm not putting in too much detail. I'll come back to that. I just want to have it marked in where it's going to go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in the curves for the corner of the box. Okay. So you can see I'm just taking the corners away and putting in curves in their place, and it transforms it from being a square box to a box with curves. So if you imagine it's made out of plastic, you could have moulded corners. At the top of this box there's a kind of section which is elevated. So what I want to do is I want to draw that in. So again, I'm going to use the vanishing points to try and kind of position where that's going to go. And also, the idea that it's getting smaller as it's going into the distance. So you can see now I've got a kind of layer that sits above, and what I want to do is make that curve as well. I can gradually start to pick out the lines that I know that they're right once I've sketched them in. But don't draw too heavily until you've got the kind of basics of your drawing in there. A lot of these lines you're going to have to clean up and take away, so you don't want to make them too heavy. So I'm just really kind of polishing up my lines to get them looking nice and straight. Tweaking it a wee bit. Now there's a wee bit here on the top in the middle, so I want to move that line over a wee bit because it doesn't look quite right. And what I want to do is I want to put in the curve to help create that curve there. So I'm going to put the corners in here as well. I'm going to mark that quarter up, and that links to that vanishing point. So you can see by drawing the curves here, it helps to kind of create the impression of the shape. There's a couple of wee handles on this side, so I'm going to sketch them in. Right, so now I'm going to get a rubber and I'm going to clean up quite a lot of this drawing. I'm going to take away lines that I don't need anymore. If I've drawn a lot of sketch lines, I can take away the ones that I don't want. It's really, you want to kind of make your drawing a wee bit sharper and a wee bit cleaner, because presumably you're going to add some colour or some tone into your drawing at some point. Although you don't always want to do that, but you do want to get a nice kind of quality of line, so you clean up all the extra lines you don't need and take them away. At this point you might end up taking out bits that you're going to have to draw back in again, and that's okay, because you've kind of drawn up your base, you've got something to work on top of. But make sure you use a good rubber and don't let your paper get damaged, you know, by bending it or folding it when you're rubbing out. So you can see I've taken away all the bits that are annoying me, although I can still kind of make out where they've to go, so I'm just going to put them back in. And I'm going to take away those. I am keeping the vanishing points because I'm not finished with them yet. I'm still using them. And now what I can do is I can kind of just go back in, and with a nice sharp point of my pencil I can really pick out the lines that I want. I realised at this point that the lid sits out a wee bit, so I'm going to actually make it look as if the lid sits out by just bringing the edge in a wee bit underneath. So you see that makes it look as if it sits slightly broader than the box it sits on top of. At this point you can decide what lines you want to keep. You don't always have to keep every line and put in every single bit of detail. The purpose of a design sketch is really just to kind of create an impression of something. And it may well be, if you're drawing it in pencil, that you don't want all the pencil lines to be visible when you're putting in things like colour or tone. You know, it might just be that the shading's going to do that job. You're always looking to just give enough information to make your drawing understandable so that people know what it is that you're drawing. So the same on this side, I want to make it look as if it's indented. That's it. So this drawing's about life size, but you could make it a wee bit smaller. It doesn't need to be life size. Sometimes it's easier to draw things a wee bit smaller, but the important thing is to keep your proportion right. You don't want it to look too tall or too thin or... Right, so that section there is made out of one moulded piece of plastic, so that's why I've taken that line away, so that it looks like it's connected onto that single piece that goes right round. When you're doing wee details, you really have to have quite a sharp pencil to be able to allow you to get the wee kind of bits and pieces that you want in there. And it is worthwhile taking your time and just putting them in, because actually things like the thicknesses of plastics or the edges, that kind of thing is quite good in a design. And they actually help with the description of your drawing, you know, quite well. So this wee section here is split into quarters on the right hand side. There's a couple of wee bits I still need to add in, so you notice I'm still using my vanishing point to kind of help me position them, although I don't have to draw the lines right the way along, but have to think in terms of where should they go, what direction should they go in. I don't know if you can hear all the wildlife that's croaking about me. So you can just gradually build in all the wee bits of detail that you want to have in your design. This is still the sketching stage, you're not really finishing your drawing at this stage. You're just getting it ready for whatever you're going to do next. Good luck.